Welcome to Enlightened, the enlightened journey of life. I am your host, Jen Hamilton, and it is an honor to have you here. I am a conscious life coach and women's empowerment mentor, and I activate a potent level of self and soul inquiry with my clients, which initiates deep and lasting transformation in all areas of their lives. I am here for the full human experience, authentically and audaciously sharing my magic with the world. On this podcast, we're all about mastering life on the way to enlightenment. And as we are here having a human experience, we might as well embrace it all. We play in the space of what is real and tangible, just as much as we play in the space of esoteric and metaphysical. You'll be ignited by deep conversation, whether through my own personal musings, interviews with incredible thought leaders around the world, and everyday divine humans sharing their soulful stories. Thank you for being on this journey. Let's dive in. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Enlightened podcast. And today I'm joined by Jessica Armstrong, who is an entrepreneur and life coach dedicated to guiding others on their path to self-love and true joy. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. So happy to be here, Jen.
Tell us about the incredible journey that you have been on and the work that you do that has led you down this path.
Sure. So like a lot of us, we come from our childhood that has our environments and the things we learn from our parents and in school, where we grow up, everything that has kind of that impact and even just society. So, I was always a creator and artistic. And I think because of where I was, that wasn't the most acceptable choice. So, I was very programmed to thinking I needed to go to college and I needed to have a good degree that would give me a great career afterwards. And I went into marketing, which has ended up being wonderful. However, a lot of that time I was just spent feeling sad because I didn't really know where I was going, if this was really the path that was meant for me. And often I had that self-talk was like, hey, this is what everybody's doing. This is what you were taught you're supposed to do. And so again, it's making me think about the fact that I'm not doing it right, or I'm not good enough to be in this box. So after graduating, and really just not having a hard time finding a job in marketing that wasn't salesy or an unpaid internship, I ended up staying with the restaurant business and, led into the service industry, and did that for a long time, which really, really took a toll on my mental well-being. And my 20s were hard. And at one point, I just kind of told myself, I always say there's this one Jessica that is programmed with these old thoughts and these old narratives. And there's this other Jessica that's always fighting for me and for that purpose. And, she was starting to get restless, I guess. And eventually I was like, hey, I need to find out what it is that I need to do to move forward and find happiness. And because none of this feels good, none of it feels okay. So I usually take my start of my journey as this trip that I took to Alaska, and I did sea kayaking there and saw whales and just was completely away from everything. And it was beautiful. And I knew that being with nature and being able to spend time with myself was something that I really needed. So I ended up packing up and moving to Colorado and looking for a different career path. And I was looking around for real estate because it was something that I had interest in. And I started working as a transaction coordinator for a brokerage. And eventually because I loved being around all these entrepreneurs, I just really enjoyed that freedom of creativity and learning about how they treat their clients, and it was just really beautiful. And I felt really stuck again in this kind of office job. And when I expressed my interest to my boss about what I wanted and the success that I was planning for myself, it was kind of met with, that's just never going to happen, or like you have to go through all these hoops to even be there. So that didn't sit right with me. And again, I kind of had that feeling like, man, I got to do something. I got to make a change. This doesn't feel right. So I started looking up, other people who were doing it, and they were creating their own business as a transaction coordinator and working directly with agents. Now, I wanted to create my own business, and really the purpose of that was because ultimately I wanted to create a place that I could have team members who had their own freedom and financially, creatively felt empowered, had a safe working environment, and especially women who needed to work from home, as well as make money for myself to invest in my wellness business. And so a lot of this also included therapy and healing, because I knew that I had to be in the right space to make all of this happen and be the leader and the mentor and the coach that I wanted to be for others. So really, after I started my business, which you learn a lot from yourself, but the transaction coordinator business, which actually has been really successful. And I have 3 amazing TCs that work for me now, and they take care of the day to day. And so it allowed me to really start my coaching business, which has been powerful for many reasons.
Wow, that's such an incredible journey that you've been on. And how is it like, how have you evolved over time through all of this, through, going through these experiences that you've been through and, to where you are now? What are the biggest changes that you've seen within yourself?
That's I love that question. Because I often say, that I just can't believe that I'm who I am now, even though it's more of myself. I'm more of me. But it's hard sometimes to believe it when you think back to how I used to be, how I used to feel. And big thing with therapy was I mentioned that I wanted to find my people, find my tribe, and I also wanted to build confidence. And I remember when, this first time, it was something that had happened within my business that I handled, and with pure, authentic confidence. And I remember thinking afterwards, like, wow, that just came out, and it was amazing feeling because it was something that I used to think I'd never have. And I had moments of confidence in my life and moments where I had really stepped out of my comfort zone. But they weren't always met with anything encouraging on the other end. But now, because I'm able to do that for myself and I'm completely happy to do that for myself, it's easier. And understanding what is all wrapped up into being confident and being able to love yourself and be true to who you are. And with meeting people, finding my tribe, I started to realize that even though it was something I had mentioned earlier on, there was so many steps to get there. And so I hadn't really thought about it, but then all of a sudden, over time, I'm organically having these people in my showing up in my life, almost as gifts from the universe. And I believe that's because I was truly open to the work that I had to do, um, being open to things that I am not in control of, and just allowing things to go more as they should, and just focusing on what I need to focus on, which is me, making sure my cup is full, making sure that I'm talking my best to myself. So, those things, confidence, being open to what I can't control, and then, letting go of those things, letting go of that as well. And just really having that peace of knowing that everything's okay, and changing that narrative in my head that I'm not good enough or I can't, to, I'm just fine who I am right now in the present. And that's wonderful. So yeah, I'd
Beautiful.
say those things.
Yeah. And you touched on briefly there on the self-care piece, and it's so important that we're
Yes.
nourishing ourselves, that we're loving ourselves, that we're, holding ourselves in the highest regard and believing in ourselves. From your perspective, Jessica, why is self-care so important?
Well, we we are the only people that we have in this life that we are completely connected to. And we have to find peace with that, and we have to have awareness of that. And we have to understand that where we're coming from, and what's going through our minds and how we perceive things is all our unique self, and that everybody else around us has their own unique insights and views, and we can't hold them responsible for how we treat ourselves. And I think that, and it's not anyone's fault. These are all human things. We're very triggered by, society and what is expected of us, and it's harder to feel like you can be yourself sometimes. But the beauty of it is, it's so much harder, to move forward and to really get anything done the way that it'll bring you real joy, if you haven't truly accepted that for yourself, and you've really decided to make yourself your number one priority. I always tell myself I can always count on me. I can always count on me to support myself, to lift myself up and be there for me, and that I'll never tell myself that I'm not good enough. And that's something that to me is very powerful. A lot of people talk about these affirmations and, um, positive talk to yourself. And I know it's hard to transition to that, but it's really such a vital part of how we end up living our lives. Because if this is our only chance, at least in this time frame, we absolutely have to find that in order to experience life to the fullest, and experience true joy and true happiness, and the rest will come. I find that you get more back when you are completely focused on just providing for yourself and being there for you.
It's such a big piece, isn't it? And you've touched on confidence, which I love. Like, what's been your journey with confidence? Have you always been, at the level of confidence that you're at now, or has it been a real journey for you that you've had to work through?
Yeah, it's been a real journey. I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and didn't have a lot of support when I was in new social environments. So, building confidence, especially in social situations, was difficult. And then I also just had a lot of times where I thought I had done something really amazing and it wasn't met with that same response, which again, this is where you have to tie in that, hey, I know I did a good job and that's good enough. But back then, when you don't know, you don't have those tools, it's very difficult. And, I didn't know how to cope with not being confident. I didn't know how um, I'd see other people that I perceived as confident, and I just thought I'd never be able to be those people. I didn't know how they got there. Um, and of course, we don't know if they really are confident or if they're just really good at showing that they're confident. But either way, for me, that was how I measured confidence, was how I saw other people. And so that was really the biggest, I think, probably the biggest part of my journey with therapy and healing was really combing through that childhood trauma, those that inner child work that really needed to be done, to take away the these narratives that were not serving me, and understanding why I should feel confident about things and how to show myself how I can be confident in those. So, for example, with business, with my business, my first one that I started, it was that was going to be a big leap for me. And I had been practicing with confidence, because I had already started with therapy and had learned some new tools and was definitely feeling more so. But it was a big leap, and it was something that I knew I had to take. But it was working with a business coach at the time that really helped me, as well, with that confidence and really understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you're putting yourself out there and you're showing up for yourself and you're doing the work. And that's so important. And you have to be able to value yourself. And I think valuing yourself and being confident really go hand in hand. Because like when we had to change our prices because, the things get more expensive and everything like that. And we were also providing very quality work. But that conversation is not always easy sometimes. And you have to remember the reason why you're doing this, and that you're valuing yourself, and to be able to have that kind of confidence behind you and supporting yourself in that way, that's it feels really good afterwards, even if it's not as even if it feels a little shaky when you're doing it.
Absolutely. And I have, been through such a journey with confidence in my, life as well. And, how I perceived confidence from such a young age. And, you can, look at other people and think, oh my gosh, they're so much more confident than me. They have more than me. They do more than me. But yeah, in the last few years, like my confidence has come from that self-love journey, from doing the inner child work, from
Mm.
the self-awareness, asking myself the hard-hitting questions, working on my belief systems, living in alignment with my values.
Yeah.
It is those pep talks. It is those notes to yourself on the mirror in the bathroom. It is sitting in stillness. It's journaling. It's meditation. It's
Mm.
all of these pieces of the puzzle. And then eventually it just clicks, doesn't it? You're like, oh, I get
Yeah.
it now. Like I get why people do this, and I get how people are so confident within themselves because they're dedicated and devoted to loving themselves. That's, for me, that's what it came down to. And that's where mine
Oh, yeah.
came from. Essentially, it's like, well, if I just block out all of the noise and all that I have left is what I say to myself and who I'm showing up as in the world, who am I? And if I don't like the way that I speak to myself, how can I expect anyone to be kind to me if I can't even be kind to myself? And that was such a big one as well.
Yeah.
And, there's this level of confidence that just, it organically grows when you love yourself, when you
Yes.
prioritize yourself, when you create healthy boundaries, when you take radical self responsibility for all of the aspects in your life. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. It is such a journey, and
Hmm.
it's a continual journey. I don't think you ever just get there, and then you
Right.
don't. I think there's so many layers of it. I mean, that is the healing and growth journey. It's not about, oh, I've just got to, I'll get to here and I'm fine. And it's the same as in business as well, as you would know, going through business, being an entrepreneur, you know, there's so many layers to it. I've been in business. Oh gosh, how old's my son? He's 6, so about 7 years, because I was pregnant with him when I was like proper starting my business. I'd been in business a little while before that, but um, I've been in business for 7 years, and it has been a journey. Like the things that I had to go through and learn and fail forward at, and all of the things I've been through to get me to where I am today. Yet that still not at a destination. There is no
Right.
destination for it. It's, you unlock new levels, and you unlock new levels of yourself along the way, and you meet people along the way, and you are shaped by the environment that you're in and the people that you're surrounded by. And for me personally, like every time I'm sort of going through, some kind of, awakening or transitioning into a new level, certain things have got to drop off along the way. Definitely old habits, old thought processes, belief systems, ways of being. They've got to go because they don't align with the person that I'm becoming, which I personally believe is an even better version of myself. Um,
Yeah.
but there's no fast track there, unfortunately. If there was a fast track, I guarantee you I would have tried to find it. But we can't fast track it. We have to go through all of the things to get there.
Yeah, and when you are letting go of things, there's a grieving process as well that I think some people don't realize is, even when you are doing this inner child work, or you're kind of going through some of your past things, or maybe realizing that a family member had a lot to do with why you are the way you are that you never really realized before. And these are hard facts sometimes. Diving deep into them, though, is very helpful, but it's also a grieving process that comes with it. And that's why therapy, coaching, and any type of healing work can be very difficult for some and can feel very emotional. And that's why, and you mentioned quite a few things like setting boundaries. Um, Being able to find the self love, being able to be confident in things, and even going to those next levels. Sometimes you fall back and sometimes you move forward, and then you have to figure out how to adapt and handle these things. And that's why I always suggest to people that finding someone who knows those tools, has done those tools, has learned them, and knows how to teach them, is somebody to really have in your life, because I know that without learning them from someone, I was going to have a much harder time. Once you learn them, of course, it's up to you to put them into practice, and everything like that. But, we understand that it's not easy. And having been through it, you know that it's not easy. And that's why that gentle guidance through coaching, for me, is really important, because I want to help them find that in their own right, and get to those parts that are not working for them in the present, that we can, use some tools and some new practices to turn those old patterns into new moving forward. And it's really important to have somebody who knows those and can help you learn how to use them in your life, because yeah, it takes a village sometimes.
It really does, doesn't it? And this is
Yeah.
what I love about being a coach. And, it's the coaching modality, depending on, what sort of therapy you do within the space of coaching. There are so many out there. what I love about it, and the fact that it's, it's a different environment to, say, counseling or psychology, because, even though, these modalities absolutely have their place, what I love about coaching is that the coach walks alongside you and is very transparent in their own journey as well. They're
Hmm.
very much like, hey, look, I've been through what you've been through. Here, I know the way. Let me grab your hand. I'll show you how to move through this.
Right.
That's what I love about coaching, and there's so many incredible people in the world doing it. And I've heard so many times, all you need to be is, a couple of steps in front to be able to guide people through, and to be humbled in the fact that we don't all have our shit together. We don't need to
Hmm.
have our shit completely together. The fact that we're all just on this collective journey as a village, as you
Yes.
mentioned, that it is all about working together and supporting each other through this. And um, yeah, I love this work, and I love meeting other coaches that are in this field as well, because it's such a powerful thing to walk this path collectively together, instead of creating that separation between, like, so the way essentially the medical or pharmaceutical side of things does.
Right. And the even group coaching and, retreats, things like that, where you can really be with others that are on their own healing journeys and at different levels. I mean, it's just so impactful. And being able to kind of step out of the noise that you're in your day to day and be able to really hear yourself and hear how you connect with others. I mean, it's our natural way is to connect and use our own individual strengths to lift up the community. And I think that a lot of people have been working on themselves for the past few years, and you're starting to see that coming back. And I think it's just a really positive thing to watch. And yeah, I truly believe connection to yourself and to others is so important.
It really is, isn't it? And this is the thing, like, we all have to start somewhere on the journey of
Mm-hmm.
healing, and so whether it is just it's getting a coach and saying, hey, I need some help. If you're at the very start of your journey going, I didn't even know where to start, like, it might be,
Right.
reading a personal development book. It might be, just getting really clear on what habits you do want, what habits you don't currently have, and then just closing the gap between, creating a different experience of habits. It
Yes.
could be, starting a journaling practice, or just noticing your thoughts, or just bringing awareness to how it is that you speak to yourself and how you feel when you say things to yourself. I know within myself, through my journey, like, there's not often that I would put myself down or beat myself up for anything these days. It really doesn't exist. But
Yeah.
there'll be a time where something might slip through the keeper, and I have this, like, it's not a pain, it's almost like this rush of energy that goes through my heart, that
Mm-hmm.
hits that chakra, that just sort of moves, like, it just sort of permeates in through my body. It's like a wrecking ball. And it's like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, we don't speak like this anymore. Like, it used to be such a common thing. And now I wouldn't dream of speaking to myself in, such a poor way anymore. I love how I connect with myself. I love how I relate with myself. I love that I'm my own cheerleader, and, I believe in myself. And from there, the most incredible things happen in my life constantly, because I have that there. I have,
Yeah.
thriving relationships, incredible friendships. I have, like, miracles happen all of the time. I had an experience yesterday where, like, my life literally was like a door just blew wide open, and I can't share anything just yet. But yeah, a door, like, just blew wide open, that is literally going to change the trajectory of my life. And I was like, wow. But of course, this is what I do,
Yeah.
and how incredible it is. And, coming back to gratitude and just being like, wow, thank you, universe. Thank you, God, source, whoever it is, whatever it is that you connect to. Thank you, higher self. Thank you to
Yeah.
me going through this journey. And it's all about starting somewhere.
Yes.
It's having that idea in your mind that, like, yeah, I'm really inspired by this other person. I want to know how to work with them, or what they did to go through this, or, being inspired to just want a difference made in your life. and it is a journey. It doesn't, once you start, you can definitely slow it down, but I don't think you ever truly stop it once you know that, of how good it actually feels.
Well, that's really the big thing right there, is that it's getting to that point where, you're like, wow, I'm really, when you're getting that feedback from the world, the universe, and you're like, wow, this really feels so different. I mean, you can see it sometimes even just in that first coaching session. They have those aha moments, and then you know that they have just tapped into something that's going to affect the way that they view themselves and think about that in the future, and it's in a good way, and it's so amazing. And that's, I think, why I like doing what I do, is for those aha moments that I get to see, because they come to us for that, and they don't maybe know that that's what they're going to get. But I always try, to help ask those powerful questions, that help them find, why they're there and what the next steps they need to take. And then we can break it down. But yeah, often that change can be pretty quick and feel really good. And then you can just continue moving that way. It's just having that chance moment of pulling yourself from the darkness, if you will, or wherever you're feeling stuck on your journey, and saying, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. I don't like talking to myself like this anymore. Like, something's got to give, and being like, I'm going to reach out to this person because I'm ready. I'm ready to do the work. I'm ready to invest in myself, because that's important. And sometimes it's a life-changing moment that makes that happen. And sometimes it's just getting tired of the day-to-day feelings. And either way, it's such an important place, to really take advantage of, that opportunity, because that's your inner self telling you they love you and they want you to feel better. And I truly believe that. And, being able to see these things come to me, these gifts, these magical moments, because I did the work, and because I'm more open and present a more positive energy for myself and around me. Because I've seen that, I know it's possible. And I just want everybody to feel that way, Um, it's just so important. But again, it's not easy, and it's just nice when you can find somebody that's able to help along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Jessica, how do people get in touch with you, work with you, be in your field?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with me now is through my Instagram page, which is at Jessica Armstrong Coaching.
Mhm.
My website's going through a little bit of a facelift, but should be ready soon, and that'll be announced on my Instagram page as well. That is the best place to set up a kickstart call, which would be almost like a coaching session. You can really see what working together would be like. And if anybody has any questions about getting into the field, I am absolutely available to talk about that. And I did my coaching sessions and learning through the Clear Inner Focus program, which is amazing. So if you want to check them out too, they're really great. But
Amazing. And
yes,
we'll link to all of that in the show notes as well.
great.
Amazing. Yeah. And Jessica, one last question for you. In your view of the world, what is the meaning of life?
Ooh. I believe the meaning of life is being true to yourself and getting to live your purpose.
I love that. That's beautiful. Jessica, thank you so much for joining me for a chat today.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I just loved it.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.